Alright everybody, I'm just going to cut straight to the point. No intro needed. This is week 4 of Pantheon. This week, they have added 2 more bosses to the rotation, now with Riven and Nezarec in that order, adding to the lineup. And this week's modifiers are the following. For the class modifier, it's going to be Shot Caller, which is the modifier that has you shoot primary ammo to get a bonus damage buff on your special and heavy weapons. Then in the Surge slots, we have Strand Surge and Solar Surge. It is not Void Surge like everybody expected it to be, so you're going to bring either Strand or Solar. If you're curious about the previous bosses of Pantheon, I have guides for weeks 3, 2, and 1 on those bosses already covered. In this week, we're going to talk about specifically Riven and Nez. So let's go to Riven first. Now, immediately before even talking about the boss fight, I need to do a little PSA here. If you own Transcendent Blessing mods / the consumable, you should put it on your armor. If you don't want to slot it in your current armor, go to the Helm, go to Riven, and get some high stat armor with resilience from her, and then put it onto that armor. The reason why is because Transcendent Blessing gives you a 5% damage buff for each piece that you have it on with. So if you have 1 exotic and 4 regular pieces, that's a 20% damage buff to your damage in the Riven encounter. To get Transcendent Blessing, you can go to the Dreaming City, pick up the weekly Blindwell bounty from Petra, then go do Blindwell, try not to fall asleep, then hand in the Oracle after that, and hopefully you get one of those Transcendent bounties from that. Once you get that bounty, do the task it says, whether it's go do the Corrupted, go do Blindwell again, go kill some Knights in the Ascendant Challenge, whatever it may be, go do that objective, complete it, and then you get a Transcendent Blessing mod, and then you can slot it into your armor. Now, as for the Riven fight, everything in this fight is taken, so you should take advantage of taking spec on your weaponry where you can. Then, the changes for this boss fight are going to be the following. When you start the initial boss fight with Riven, and you go downstairs and you're floating down, there will be 3 phalanxes on the left and the right sides waiting for you already. So you need to shoot them down as you're flying down, otherwise they will beam you and kill you. This is -20, so they're not playing around. After that, you split up into your rooms, 3-3, just like you normally would. There is no cheese, by the way. The cheesing for this has been patched. You actually have to do the encounter as it's been intended. As you enter the room, the mechanics for the fight is mostly the same. The one main change in these rooms is going to be Minotaurs spawning in by the looking glass where you read the symbols. It'll be 2 invisible Minotaurs. You should kill them first as your priority, and then after a short amount of time, they will respawn. It's about 10 to 15 seconds, kind of similar to the Knights in Kingsfall with the bombs at Oryx. So while 2 people deal with the Minotaurs by the symbol reading, you should have 1 person deal with the snipers, which is 2 on the left, 2 on the right, and then once you've downed those, a new pair will respawn to take their place, so it'll be a total of 8 snipers to take care of. And in the middle, there'll just be a bunch of Scions spawning in, just like normal. The Eye of Riven reading is exactly the same, the Riven mechanics are exactly the same. She breathes fire, you gotta shoot her in the mouth, or she does the Tentacle Claw, where you gotta shoot the claw in order to see the eyes. So once you get the eyes, you send it to the other team, like normal, they get their damage phase, and then eventually the roles will reverse, where they stun and you get the damage. But when you are in this damage phase, it's worth noting, and it's very important, she has severe damage reduction now. You cannot do any cheese where it's 6 behemoths or 6 swords, you know, hitting her claw. None of that. Don't bother, it won't get you anywhere. Just shoot her in the mouth like you normally would in the classic raid. You can still use heavy weapons, you can still use like Celestial Nighthawk, things like that. You're not going to do like 25% of her health, but you'll still do some damage. And don't worry, you'll get your supers back later on, so you can definitely pop your supers on the bottom floors. We'll head to the middle floor here in a second. I do want to mention composition for these reading rooms though, just because I've seen some people fall behind because they're just very stubborn in what they want to run as loadout. I think as long as you run at least 1 weapon that can clear waves of enemies, you should be fine. So for example, people are running like double sniper for some reason. That's not the play in my opinion. You need something like Forbearance, Zuli's, Sunshot. Anything that can create explosions and kill waves in 1 shot is ideal here, because these Scions in the middle of the rooms, they continuously respawn, they can kill you very easily, and especially when you're supposed to be protecting your runner so they can go dunk with the symbol, these Scions will kill them. That little take-in blaster ain't gonna do nothing. So you need to protect them, and you need to do it well. So I highly recommend that you bring one of those weapons that just clears waves at the snap of a finger. As far as supers go, well is always king. That's no surprise to anybody. I do like Tether in certain aspects in this fight, but I kind of, at least this week, think that Golden Gun is valued much more because it's Solar Surge. So your Goldie is going to do a ton of damage when you do eventually get to the top and you have the DPS Riven. And plus, we have, you know, like our melees with Solar this season through the artifact. Revitalizing Blast, giving us at least some sort of weaken, or you could always have like a Tractor Cannon as well. Either one works, but I think overall, your Warlocks and your Hunters should stay on Solar for this fight. But hey, if you're struggling and you need help with ad clearing, you can absolutely go Tether. That's not a problem. Just my personal recommendation. As for the middle floor, it's exactly the same. There's going to be Ogres, there's going to be Goblins protecting the Ogres, and there's going to be Riven rotating around the room where you have to shoot her claw or shoot her in the mouth to see the eyes in that particular rotation, and then you're going to need to memorize 6 different eyes. You can do this in 2 different ways. You can either have 3 teams of 2 to divide yourselves between the eyes, or you can have 3 individuals do it for you. So one person gets 2 eyes, the second person gets 2 eyes, and the third person gets 2 eyes. That's what we opted to do in our run, and then I actually just backed up one of our players in the event that they weren't able to get any eyes because of flinch. So, for example, Sweat was going to shoot L1 and R1, and then I backed him up in the event that he couldn't get one of those, and then I would shoot those eyes just in case. Now, as for just dealing with the room, besides the mentioned Tether from earlier, Malfeasance absolutely destroys this entire room. If you are a Hunter, put on Lucky Pants, put on Malfeasance, and you will just shred through everything. The Ogres, the Goblins, literally everything without a problem. But I will say, as you're getting close to the actual damage faced for shooting Riven in the mouth, you should put on some sort of primary that shoots fast, just so you can proc Shot Caller much faster. And in that damage phase, you pop off with your Goldie. If you're a Hunter, then you shoot whatever primary you have that shoots fast, so like an SMG, an auto, etc. Get Shot Caller, switch to your Heavy, and then shoot your Heavy at her mouth non-stop. Then somebody will give you the call for eyes. You go 3, 2, 1, shoot the eyes, and then you're done with that phase. Next up, assuming you did in one phase, you will have to go downward and then shoot Riven Zits to do additional damage to hopefully get you to final stand. There's no real tip for the Zits phase. It's pretty much the same. Either shoot it with a sniper or shoot it with a fast-firing weapon such as an auto rifle to just shoot the Zits and have plenty of ammo for the other ones. If you get enough, you'll be teleported straight to final stand. And then final stand is exactly the same. You go to the Taken Realm, you climb the tower, get to the portal, come out, Riven meets you, you shoot Riven in final stand, she dies, you go in her mouth, and then you're done. There's no Queen's Walk, by the way, don't worry. We're just going to move on to Nezarec now. Okay, so, remember how everybody was making fun of Nezarec for being a joke of a boss, and the boss fight just being a joke? Well, you guys are going to have fun with this one. In this fight, there are a couple of key changes that we have. Number 1 is going to be, there will be immune Colossus on each side of the arena. One Colossus will be a light one, and one will be a dark one. You cannot damage them otherwise, you would just get straight immunes. So, in this boss fight, what you're going to have to do is have 2 people at the starting points of this boss fight, meaning 2 people are going to stand under the light flower, and then 2 people are going to stand under the dark flower. What's going to happen is, whenever you get ready to go, you're going to shoot these flowers so that 4 people will end up having the buff total in the arena. Then, the 2 extra people that are not runners will switch sides and then kill their respective Colossus and then work on the ads. So, for example, some light person will go from left to right, kill the dark Colossus, and then start shooting the ads on that side. And the person from dark will go to left, the light side, and do the exact same thing. Meanwhile, the last 2 players on your team will be taking care of the Nez aggro. So they're going to be popping his shoulders to see if it's light or dark for the refuge, and then also just aggroing him the entire time while your runners do their thing. You can have a well person here also pop a Phoenix Well just to be safe from Nez while also clearing out ads in the middle, because this fight has a metric F-ton of ads and they all hurt when it's negative 20. By the way, speaking of damage, I recommend running 2 Void Resist or like a Void and a Concussive and then an Arc Resist in your armor because, well, that's mostly what you're going to get shot by. Nez is going to shoot you with Void and slam you with Void, and then the Colossus are the Arc Missile variety, so that's what the mods are for. Now going back a little bit, your runners. In this fight, you are not going to try to just shoot it from 0 to 100 and get the DPS phase started right away. I highly recommend that everybody just takes their time, especially with all the ads running around, the immune Colossus that can't be killed right away, and everything. Just take your time, make a single refuge whenever needed, when your middle team figures out which color it is, so you guys can all get organized and get your ducks in a row. Then, once refuge has gone off and you're all safe, get back to your sides, clear ads a little bit if you can, and then start finishing up your nodes. What I recommend you guys do here is each team get to 5 nodes, light and dark. Then when you're both at 5, you communicate that you're at 5, pick up your last buff, and then head over to your last petal, and just say 3, 2, 1, go. What I see from this, in my experience, is if you do it correctly, the Colossus won't spawn in until you've hit that last node. Otherwise, if you have a lopsided rotation where light finishes all 6 while dark has only finished 4, then the Colossus will spawn in on dark and then it'll be right next to that last flower that they need to pop, and that might create a big problem. Also, another reason to do it this way is to provide your runners a hard out immediately after they're done. So what you're going to do as you're going to start the damage phase is go 3, 2, 1, shoot the final petals, and then you're going to head over to the damage phase spot for this fight, which is the top where Nezarec spawns in at the beginning of the fight. The reason for this is because the flower petals that usually everybody just stands on for normal Nezarec DPS, they're going to be bombarded with Pervading Darkness, which will eventually kill you if you just stand there. So because of that, you obviously can't stand on the flowers the entire time. The next best solution is to find a spot on the map where Nez won't just stuff you into a locker. Also, while all this is going on, there's going to be a Tormentor on the map as well. So between the Tormentor, possible Colossus that weren't killed, and then possible ads that weren't killed, you just want to be far and away from everything. And the best solution here is to just go sit up top where Nez spawned. From here, you can have 5 people sit up top, and then 1 person with a well sit on the bottom. That way, Nez aggroes that 1 person that's in a well the entire time. They could be a div user, they could be a tractor user, they could be a glaive user if they don't feel safe. And then the other 5 just rain down their heavy, their supers, etc. on Nez, and it's very, very safe this way. I know some teams, my team included on the first run, opted to use doorways against Nez and just popping a well in there and hoping Nez doesn't walk up to us and get us all killed because we're firing GLs. And this was fine on our first run, but genuinely I don't recommend it for anybody else to use, especially LFG, pickup groups, friend groups, etc. Sitting in this tiny environment will just end up getting you killed one way or another, whether it's somebody walking into somebody else's shots, Nez teleporting on top of you, suppressing you, knocking you off the map, etc. So don't bother with that corner locker room strat. Also, if you are doing the top strat and Nez happens to teleport on top of you, all you gotta do is just jump down. You have a well downstairs as well. Go down, keep shooting him. He jumps down, you can jump back up, or you can just keep backing away from him, and then eventually all your heavy ammo will be expanded and the damage phase will end, or Nez will just die. As for other meaningful tips in this boss fight, you could bring blinding GLs into this fight as well, because those do work on the Colossus on the left and the right-hand side. It does not work on the middle one, by the way, because that's a boss-level Colossus, I believe. Weapon-wise, another thing I would say is bring either Forbearance or Indebted Kindness with Voltshot. Both of these can cook the regular ads pretty quickly, despite them spawning non-stop. You can make a bunch of orbs through this, you can clear out an entire wave, get a bunch of medals as well for score to get platinum, and both of these weapons just work really, really well, despite it not even being Arc Surge. And lastly, just as a reminder, remember to proc Shot Caller before you use your heavy ammo. It is a big buff that should not be wasted and forgotten, and especially on -20, you're absolutely going to need it unless your team is cracked out of their mind. Finally, as a last-ditch effort, if you happen to run out of heavy ammo and you don't have any going into a damage phase or final stand, make sure, if you're a hunter, you bring either Malfeasance or Warden's Law with Lucky Pants, and if you're a different character that is not a hunter, bring Outbreak Perfected, and as long as a couple of people have Outbreak up that are not hunters, then you guys should do decent damage enough to kill them in final stand, even if you ran out of heavy and your super. And that is it. That is week 4 of Pantheon with Riven and Nezarec added to the rotation. It actually was very, very satisfying and fun to run this at reset, at least personally in my opinion. The emblem for week 4 is also sick as hell, and now we have the Godslayer title, which I think is going to be the first title I actually want to wear since Reckoner. Now, the in-game message with Bungie did state that next week will be Pantheon in its final form, but as far as I know, we're not supposed to get more bosses that I know of, so next week should be interesting. Maybe there could be a secret boss, right? It's possible. Should something happen week 5 that is unforeseen besides just surge changes, I will make a follow-up video for that as a guide if needed. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it helps some of you get your Godslayer title and beat some encounters that you couldn't beat previously. And if you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing today. It does help the channel grow, it's much appreciated, and helps us get to 40K, which we're on the way to right now. And if you want to go the extra mile, you can leave a like and or comment below as well. If you don't know what to comment, you can comment Godslayer as the comment. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.